eldest daughter. Got Brianna and Shayna, of course my mother. And just on behalf of our family, we just want to thank everyone. We're so appreciative of all the love, support, and kindness that we've received. And we're really grateful to share this time with you. So Brianna's going to lead us with a reading, and then I've strung together a few words about my dad. And then after that, we'll open up the mic to anyone else who wants to share memories or stories. And then once we conclude here, we are having people join us at the house, whoever wants to come. We'll have some refreshments and appetizers, and I'll hang around here if you need the address or just ask any one of us. So pass it to Brianna.
A reading from the Book of Wisdom. The souls of the righteous are in the hand of God, and no torment will ever touch them. They seem to have died, but their hope is full of immortality. Their lives have not ended. They will live on in the love they gave, the faith they shared, and the legacy they leave in the hearts of those who remain. My dad cared deeply about the importance of legacy. Our job is to ensure that my dad's grandchildren know who their grumpy was and how much he loves them. Though they will miss his presence, they will always carry a part of him with them.
So all of you know my dad in some capacity, and this was a near impossible task to come up with something to say about him. How do you capture a lifetime in a moment? You really can't, so I just want to share a few stories that show the man he was, the father he was, and the legacy he leaves behind. I'm feeling a little bit already, but I'm going to try to keep it light. I'm going to do my very, very best because Dad was a joker, and he loved a good laugh, and he deserves to be remembered with joy. So Dad believed deeply in teaching, and we have hours of home videos to prove it. Thanks to Dad, our family's dedicated cameraman, we have a remarkable record of the countless moments he spent coaching, guiding, and encouraging us. Whether he was teaching us new words, helping us think through a problem, or explaining the logic behind something, he took immense pride in our growth. He celebrated every accomplishment, every milestone along the way, and he was fully invested in our development, always challenging us to learn, improve, and become the best versions of ourselves. More recently, I started working with his health insurance on his behalf, and he would ask, "But are you learning?" In his last few weeks, he was adamant about quizzing me on the basics of valuation. That's all you really need to know about a company. And the yield curve, as if one day I might need to run a treasury desk. When I graduated high school in 2009, right smack in the middle of the recession, I wanted to go to Wake Forest. It's a private school with private school tuition. And I was cognizant of the financial situation and remember looking at my dad and asking him, "Can we afford it? I really like that school." And he didn't blink. "We'll make it work." So next thing I knew, he was handing me boxes of US savings bonds. And he'd been investing in my future since I was just 3 months old. So to redeem them, I spent the entire summer punching in 12-digit serial numbers for every paper bond, of which there were hundreds. But I had my tuition. Dad did the same for Brianna and Shayna and put us all through school. And that was important to him. Brianna has her own story. She applied for a study abroad program in Spain and didn't get in. She was crushed. Dad asked her why she was accepting no as an answer. "Reach back out," he said. "Ask again." She did, and that's all it took. They opened up a spot for her. Next, when Bree made it to Spain, she found out that none of the classes available to her would count as credits towards her degree. And Dad wasn't having it. He immediately took action and wrote a letter to the dean, and sure enough, his Breenie got her credits approved. Dad was available any time of day or night to help with homework and essays, even doing the entire assignment himself, as Shayna's well aware. And don't worry, she still had to do some work. Dumb it down, he would say. We joke that in addition to being a Cal grad, he had honorary degrees from at least 4 other colleges. Shayna recalls the forensic science project in which Dad jumped in. He bought a pricey luminol kit to test and process imitation blood spatter. Dad got an A on that project. He also secured Shayna another A on a comprehensive finance project. Shay later went on to fail the exam, prompting the teacher to ask her what happened. You did so well in the project. Another above and beyond instance comes from one of Shay's history classes. Her teacher offered extra credit if the students were to visit any of the places they discussed in class. And while most stayed local and cashed in on their extra credit points, Dad organized a week-long trip to Tunisia to visit the ruins of Carthage. Safe to say the teacher was impressed and shared Dad's excitement over the souvenir brought back for him. My dad valued education greatly. He taught because he cared and wanted us prepared, and because learning was one of the great joys of his life. So Dad had girls, everyone's well aware, and he rocked at being a girl dad. He signed us up to play baseball with the boys, and he was always so proud of sharing that we could keep up with them. He spent countless time with us in the backyard, helping us perfect our swing, or driving us to empty fields where we could set up and practice for hours. No matter how busy he was, he made the time to be there. He was a constant presence at our practices and games, and he'd often arrive straight from work, still wearing his suit, ready to cheer us on and support us. And basketball was the same. We played whenever we could, even joining the adults on Sunday night pickup games at the school. And if we played 21, he didn't go easy. Bree remembers being sent flying more than once. But all that mattered was Dad got the winning point. And Brianna was okay too. So if you were matched up on Dad's team playing pickleball or tennis, you would prepare to play a 2-versus-1 game. Dad would cover the entire court. If for whatever rare reason he missed the play, you would still be at fault. Only Mom could happily be his partner on the court. And if anyone has seen them play together, you know the spectacle I'm talking about. And ping pong, a family favorite. He had a deadly serve, and if you were foolish enough to lob it, he would spike it with zero hesitation, even if you were just 10 years old. From all of these games came his trademark celebratory exclamation, "Winner." And for Dad, it wasn't just about winning the game alone. That of course mattered too, but it was about doing your best, perseverance, and believing in yourself. So ancestry and our family history were a huge part of his life. He dedicated so much time to learning about our heritage. He built on his father's genealogy work and documented a prolific family tree. He uncovered so many distant cousins and reached out to new family connections. Our family and the stories of our past mattered. And similarly, he was proud of showing us the world, history, cultures. Living abroad, we traveled all over Europe, the Middle East, and Asia together. We spent our summers alternating between visiting family in Hawaii and Peru. And Dad proudly ensured that Shayna secured 3 citizenships: US, UK, Peru. Yet, despite this impressive accomplishment, getting her to renew 1 passport required months of reminders and persistence. It was a task that somehow became a challenge of international proportions. Hertz and later Herc were a huge part of his life and ours. I remember going into the office with him when I was a young child. We would show up on the weekends to a near-empty office. And at the time, it was the coolest thing to play with Post-it notes, the staplers, and if we were really lucky, the photocopier. Dad was an incredibly hard worker, and there were many late nights at the office. Mom used to drag us out of the house, sometimes as late as 9 p.m. just to bring him dinner. And as a young adult, fresh out of college, I was fortunate to join him at Hertz. There was a lot of pressure. I wanted nothing more than to make my dad proud in the workplace he helped shape. What I didn't realize at the time was what a gift that experience would become. It gave me the opportunity to spend even more time with him. So I would bring him breakfast, meet him for lunch, and sit in on meetings where I could watch him in his element. Dad loved to tell the story of a meeting where he suddenly looked across the room, we locked eyes, and he was momentarily horrified. His coworkers would often ask if I was the daughter from the pictures in his office, and every conversation seemed to come with another story about how much they admired him. Without exception, they had wonderful things to say, and I can't adequately express how grateful I am for that experience. It filled me with pride to see the man I knew as Dad through the eyes of his colleagues, to witness how deeply respected, trusted, and genuinely cared for he was both professionally and personally. Being his daughter has always been one of the greatest privileges of my life. Lastly, I have to mention his love of dogs, especially Springer Spaniels. These were his boys, and to Dad, they were simply the right kind. He often reminisced about Elmo, our first Springer, who we got from a neighbor's litter while living on a cul-de-sac in Colorado. And we recently came across an obituary Dad wrote for Elmo titled Special Dog Dies. A copy of it is actually in that room there. If you want to read it, it's pretty cool. He put it on a Wall Street Journal type template too. He never tired of sharing how Elmo moved abroad with us, where he survived 6 months in quarantine and was one of the first dogs to enter England on a pet passport. We had 4 Springers in Dad's lifetime, and naturally when I moved out on my own, I got my own Springer. He provided us with an incredibly privileged life that was always grounded in our roots and where we came from, the importance of family and connections. Dad loved experiences, concerts, games, travel, restaurants, anything that brought people together. He was a massive Rolling Stones fan. He and my mom traveled the world to see them. Throughout the States, Peru, Amsterdam, 11 concerts in total. It never took much convincing, but whenever there was a costume party or Halloween celebration, Dad would happily wear whatever costume Mom had in mind. One favorite was his hippie costume, an old Berkeley t-shirt paired with a long-haired wig. He loved making Mom happy, and one of the joys of watching them together was seeing how much fun they had with each other. He loved karaoke, loved games, and loved watching Cal sports with the same intensity he had in his 20s. He never missed a game and might even have 2 games pulled up at once if there was a conflict. One evening we were waiting on Dad to go out to dinner and caught the holdup. He was watching a Cal women's swim meet on his phone. Every Olympic event, we would know how many medals were attributed to a Cal athlete. His biggest pet peeve was receiving an invite out during a Cal game. He would be tortured. Who does that? At least Dad could keep up with the score on his phone whenever well-meaning friends neglected to consult the Cal schedule first. In recent years, Cal left the Pac-12 and joined the ACC, which meant they would play Wake Forest. I remember when Dad called me, "So, are you interested in going to the game?" And of course I was. He somehow found out about Etsy and all on his own created a custom house divided banner. Also, you've probably seen in that room. So half Cal, half Wake. We went to 2 games where he proudly brought this banner. The last game we went to was at Wake Forest. We got hooked up with a box seat and an insider who offered to take us out on the field. and I didn't hesitate to accept. Dad would love to be on the sideline by all of the action, right? Well, what I didn't factor in was we would have to walk from the box down to the field, and that involved stairwells, and the whole stretch of the field from behind the stadium, so totally blocked view. Dad was scowling the entire way, complaining about how we were missing the game. But luckily we arrived right in time to witness Cal scoring a field goal. We had arrived on the field just right behind the end zone and saw the ball gliding towards us, beautiful arc, and it was a once-in-a-lifetime experience that we shared together. Despite this, Dad didn't let me forget about how we missed the touchdown. He never said no to going out anywhere, even if it was after a late night at the office. If he needed, which was often, he would take a 20-minute power nap and be ready to go. He fondly complained about Mom poking him to let him know his alarm would be going off in 15 minutes. "15 minutes of precious sleep that he lost and would never get back." He was a good sport and easygoing. He loved life and believed life was meant to be lived. So, I would be remiss not to speak about the journey that brought us here today. And this is going to be highly, highly summarized because Dad endured a lot and defeated a lot of odds. Dad was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer in April 2024. It's a terrible, unforgiving disease. We were devastated, but Dad didn't hesitate. He chose to fight. Brianna gave birth to the twins, Emmy and Addie, a few months after, making him a grandpa, a role he embraced wholeheartedly. By then, my parents had moved in with Bree and John, while Dad underwent chemotherapy and radiation treatments in Tampa. What could have been an incredibly difficult season was made brighter by the joy of being immersed in the twins' earliest days. He treasured every moment, every smile, every milestone, every opportunity to hold and love them. And he proudly adopted the nickname Grumpy, wearing it with the same sense of humor and affection that defined him. Dad's battle continued. He traveled to 6 of the top surgeons in the country, only to be denied again and again because the tumor was too close to a major artery. Surgery was just too risky. This didn't discourage him. Then he met Dr. LaFaro and her team at Johns Hopkins, and they were the first and only team willing to take on the challenge and give him the opportunity that he had been fighting for. More good news came at the end of 2024 when Shayna moved back home. Dad was ecstatic to have his Shay babe back nearby. Her return brought not only the joy of having one of his girls close again, but also a dog sitter. It's making it easy for Mom and Dad to pick up and go to their doctor appointments. In January 2025, he underwent an 11-hour surgery, which is far longer than expected. The surgery was successful. There were more procedures, more hurdles, but he was in good hands and he was determined to get better. And he did bounce back, and he built a new normal. In April 2025, my daughter Amelia, I'm sure you've seen her rolling around in the carpet here, she was born. And he traveled out to New Hampshire to support me and meet the newest edition of his ever-growing girl gang. The visit was especially meaningful because it required him to endure something he truly disliked, just cold weather. We even had snow that April, so a far cry from Bree's backyard in Tampa, which he affectionately referred to as his sauna. Despite the chilly temperatures, he never complained too much. He was overjoyed to be there. From the moment he met Amelia, he was completely taken with her, and before long, he had given her a special nickname, Baby Blue. Watching him hold her and welcome her into the family is a memory I'll always treasure. It was clear that being a grandfather brought him immense joy. So throughout his constant and persistent battle with cancer, he found many other things to focus on, like perfecting his huli huli chicken recipe. He explored different genres of music and fell in love with the blues. He started doing Duolingo lessons to beef up his Spanish, and he never missed a day to keep his streak going. He traveled and went to events, he spent time with us, and we even went on a Disney cruise together. More recently, he battled a severe liver infection, where he spent more than 2 months in the hospital, with Mom right by his side the entire time. He went into septic shock more than once, solidifying his nickname that he earned early on in his battle, Lazaro, after the biblical Lazarus, because he kept rising, kept fighting, and kept coming back. Eventually, we reached a point where we needed to bring him home. We were told he had leaks. And it took a village, and so many moved absolute mountains to make it happen. We set a plane for him, and he came home at 3 a.m. with the most ginormous smile on his face. He was so incredibly happy to be home with his girls. We continued the same treatment he was receiving in the hospital, but now he was surrounded by family and in his happy place by the mountains and lake. We played games. The Minister's Cat was one of his favorites. It's a British game. Definitely look it up if you don't know it. We had a karaoke night where he sang his song, Born to be Wild. And on the very morning he passed, he was active doing his PT, leg exercises, just cycling. He constantly reassured us that he was going to get better, and he believed it. He never once complained, and he fought each and every challenge that presented itself. All of this is to say, he put up the ultimate fight with incredible determination and perseverance. He didn't want to leave us, and he never gave up. He was a winner through and through. So thank you all for loving my dad and for caring. And we'll open it up to you guys, whoever would like to speak. Thank you.
That was amazing, Alana. Really good. Hi, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Caroline, Kyle's little sister, or as Kyle used to fondly call me, Boo. Thank you all so much for coming. It's pretty overwhelming to have so many people and so many friends here to support the family and be here with us today. Many of you know Kyle for his undying love and devotion to his wife Roxana and his 3 daughters, Alana, Brianna, and Shayna, and to his beautiful granddaughters. He always expressed how proud he was of his 3 children and the accomplishments they had. To me, Kyle was the most amazing brother a sister could imagine. He was my protector when I was young and a big role model for me growing up and throughout my adult life. I have many fond memories with Kyle, and we were very fortunate to share a really strong bond throughout our lives. Some of my favorite memories are the summers we spent together growing up at our family beach houses. After surfing, kneeboarding, snorkeling, and playing in the ocean together, Kyle would retreat to the house and read a book or come inside and watch a National Geographic documentary. I'm sure that his love for reading contributed to his encyclopedia of knowledge, and he was one of the smartest people I know. Kyle often helped me with school projects, much like he did his daughters, in both high school and college, and provided guidance to me throughout my professional career because we were in similar finance professions. I have one story in college where he came down to visit at Santa Barbara, and it was his spring break, and he was there to have fun, and I was in school. he actually took up and did an extra credit anthropology paper for me. And I got the paper back, and of course it was, the full points, and also the TA or the professor wrote, "You should be an anthropology major." Kyle was taken far too early, and his passing will leave a huge void in my life as well as everyone who loved him. And may he rest in peace, and the memories that we all have will help us hold him close to our heart. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Logan and I'm Kyle and Roxana's nephew. Uncle Kyle was an incredibly loving person and a true beacon for our family. He embodied so many of the qualities that I believe define what it means to be a Scot: hard work, integrity, strength of character, and a deep commitment to the people that he loved. As I got older, I saw so much of my grandfather in him. Kyle carried forward the values, the leadership, and example that my grandfather set for our family, and in doing so, helped shape the legacy that continues through all of us today. He was a man who made me proud to be a Scot, and I'm deeply grateful to have had him in my life. His presence, his guidance, and his love will be remembered and cherished by all who knew him. My father, Kelly, unfortunately couldn't be here today due to his health, but he asked me to share a few words on his behalf. It is with heavy hearts that we honor the life of my younger brother, Kyle. We were fortunate to grow up in a deeply close-knit family, largely on the campus of Punahou School. Our father, Charles Bud Scott, was a math teacher, athletic director, and the head basketball coach for over 25 years. Our mother, Jerry, was a dedicated public school teacher. Both parents were of the highest moral character, instilling strong, lifelong values in Kyle, our younger sister, Carolyn, and me. Kyle was the smartest person I ever knew, a true genius. His intellectual curiosity began early. At just 4 years old, he had already read the popular novel, Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee. He was just as formidable on the basketball court as he was in the classroom. Kyle and I spent countless hours in the gym with our dad shooting baskets, which made Kyle a fierce competitor and a well-versed player. During his junior year at Punahou School, Kyle often played one-on-one basketball with Barack Obama, as they were the only two members of the varsity basketball team who did not play football. Growing up on the Punahou School campus gave us an idyllic childhood. Kyle spent his days playing mud football, capture the flag, and other games with the community's faculty kids. We also enjoyed magical summers at our parents' North Shore beach houses. Kyle thrived in the ocean, becoming an avid and highly competent kneeboarder who surfed waves at gas chambers in Rocky Point. He also had a great appreciation for Hawaiian wildlife, enjoying the challenge of catching saltwater fish for our family's home aquarium. Above all, Kyle had a heart of boundless compassion. When I was bedridden with a serious hip disease at 10 years old, he would sit by my bedside for hours, playing chess and board games to keep my spirits up. He was also the one who introduced me to the guitar and music. His encouragement inspired me to start writing my own songs. He even had the patience and love to train a pet cockatiel named BG, teaching him to talk and whistle many words. Kyle brought genius, athleticism, music, and joy to everyone fortunate enough to know him. I will always love and miss him more than words can say, but his bright spirit and beautiful memories he left us will endure forever.
Please.
Kyle and I worked together, and I'm very fortunate to say that we became friends over that time, and that's lasted for many years. Enjoying the family and this relationship is something special for my wife, Kim, and I. So I've been trying to just understand, what it is that I liked about Kyle, what it is that I could say about Kyle. it all boiled down to superlatives. I mean, he really, wanted to express and experience everything at the highest level and do everything with a degree and a quality that was the best that it could be. So, then that list could go on. Surpassing all others was something he wanted to do. He wanted to be outstanding. So not only good, but to be the best, not only to be fast, but to be fastest, not only to be charming, but most charming, not only to be caring, but most caring, not only to be generous, but most generous, not only to be kind, but be most kind. So I just want to say to Kyle and to the family that he was the bestest and did the mostest.
I'm not gonna do as good as you. I'm not gonna say a lot that's new either, because I think we're talking about the same guy. So I'm really, today is of course a very sad day, obviously, but I'm honored to be here and pay tribute to a truly wonderful and one-of-a-kind person. I first met Kyle in 1988 when he was the controller in Hawaii for Hertz Milk Car. My first thought was, what a great guy, and how come other bean counters aren't like him? My family and I feel incredibly fortunate to have counted the Scott family among our dear friends for more than 30 years. Kyle was a devoted husband, father, grandfather, brother, and son. He was also an intelligent, loyal, and deeply trusted friend. To thousands of others, he was a caring executive, a respected boss, a mentor, and one of the hardest workers, as you said, any of us have ever known. But Kyle was competitive, but he wasn't obnoxious like me. He was confident, but never arrogant. He was a walking, and three people have used the word encyclopedia, he really was, on countless subjects like sports and music and history and accounting, geography, and more recently, cancer therapies, as well as anything related to the University of California, Berkeley. Over the last 3 decades, we worked, traveled, played, vacationed, barbecued, celebrated, sang karaoke, laughed and cried, and yes, we probably drank before we sang karaoke. Through it all, we were blessed to share life with a truly good man who loved his family deeply and was immensely proud of all you guys. What we lost, though, had been gained. Someone truly special. I firmly believe that when the first few days of Kyle in heaven, he found an accounting error in God's books. But the most important thing is he's not afraid to tell him about it. I'm sure he already has the keys to Heaven's Gym, where he can play basketball on Sundays without asking anyone's permission. He likely has also found a competitive tennis and pickleball team. And while he may now be surrounded by people who are only cheering for the Cal Bears and the San Francisco 49ers, Kyle is still the only one who knows the starting lineups, the scores, the statistics, and key plays from every game, regardless of the sport. And finally, I'm certain he has already secured front row seats for the first Rolling Stones concert in heaven, whenever they decide to join him. Roxana, Alana, Brianna, and Shayna, I want you to know how deeply we all love your dad, your husband, and how much we respected him. We're grateful beyond words to have called him a friend and be welcomed by your family.
We're good here. I'll hang around if anyone needs our address. And we'd love to hang out further with whoever wants to. Thank you, everyone. Oh,
Last one, but not. Hi everyone, I'm Roxana's brother. Hi everyone, I'm Roxana's brother. I moved to the States March 1981, and I worked as an au pair back then. So my time ran out of it, and then I decided to call Roxana and say, hey, I'm gonna be leaving this job. You want to take it over? So that's how she moved to the States, and she landed in Berkeley. And she met Kyle. And, and they have this beautiful family. And one of the things that I know that I actually was really proud of Kyle is his determination, intelligent, in consistency. And I remember playing my first basketball game with him, and he challenged me. And this guy is like so competitive, and I have to actually bring that A game back then. But I miss it. Thank you, guys.